Hi, I'm Eric Ostro. Live at the Lortel is about to start. For Season 2, While Theaters Are Dark, we are discussing with our guests their thoughts on the reckoning the theater community is facing for systemic racism and their vision for the future of the American theater. To broaden our perspective, I am sharing my platform with co-hosts from the BIPOC community. We offer these conversations to help us learn and to start the healing process. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Live at the Lortel. My name is Eric Ostro. I'm one of your hosts for the evening. I'm so excited about our guest tonight. It's such an honor and a privilege to have a dear friend to be able to interview. But first, I'm going to bring on another dear friend, my co-host for the evening, Ms. Ann James. Ann.
Hi, how are you doing, Eric?
Good evening, my darling. You look gorgeous as always.
Well, thank you. Are you kind?
The beautiful blue lipstick. I love it.
Thanks.
I'm going to get right to it. Sidney James Harcourt was born and raised in Detroit. I love this. It's the unexpected outcome from the chance meeting of a touring jazz pianist and a public school English teacher. Music is in his blood, and I can attest to that. Eventually, his passion and studies in music and theater and dance led him from Detroit to New York to turn his learning into living. I have so much respect for this guy. He is such an artist at the core and part of my family. I'm honored to call him a friend, a younger brother, a sister. He's my family. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sidney James Harcourt.
Hi.
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 Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much. That's just
so
touching. And, just for the record, a lot of people throw around, this is my dear friend, but this is for real. Like, we're for real friends.
We are for real friends.
So it's real people.
It is. It's our from the first time we met, our hearts certainly connected immediately. And, what I was saying as I teach, or when I was a teacher for a while, one of the joys in watching students grow in their art was having the privilege to watch you grow in your art and become just this incredible actor. I mean, forget the singing. I mean, that's just in your blood, but your acting, you're just
we
have evolved into this beauty. Yeah, we have. Yes, we have.
I've never forgotten our first session. And what was it like for Chicago for Billy Flynn?
Yeah.
And then a callback for Sondheim on Sondheim, and working with you on a musical theater song kind of opened my eyes to how much I could fit in, how much acting I could fit into like a 3 or 4 or 5 minute piece.
Right.
And I just realized, I'm just not doing my work. You can't leave that much up to chance. You've got to make this your own. And so I always go back to those sessions. So
that's good to hear. Yeah. It's about, we always go back to talking about the storytelling.
Yeah. And
what are you doing? Right.
I teach now a bit.
I know you do.
You hope that, if you spend a session with somebody, you don't know how much time you're ever going to get with any one student. And when you spend time with somebody, you hope that you're not only, at least when I teach, you hope that you're not only like helping them with that audition or with that, piece, audition piece, but also showing them how to do it on their own. And so that's a talent you have, sir. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And introducing me to so many other people that I've gotten to coach. So that I'm very grateful for as well. I want to, first of all, Sid, how the heck are you? I mean, here we are. We've been living in the middle of this pandemic for over a year. Tell me how you're doing, what you've been doing, where you are, what happened when pandemic hit.
Well, as you can see from my mustache, I'm losing it. Barely holding on. No, I hate saying that I'm great in a time when I know that there are so many people around the world that are like grappling, and I guess that can be happening at any time, but especially now. But maybe we want to hear about light in the darkness. And for me, like the pandemic was a time for like reinvention and renovation, both on your living space and on yourself, and actuating all of those things that you're always thinking about doing that you don't do because another audition has come down the pipeline, or this job has to get done, or you're running around all the time. It kind of was from, there were challenges for all of us, certainly, and fear, but for me, it just was like a reset button that I kind of needed. And so right now, I feel like I'm on top of the world. Like I'm in a place where I grew up, in northern Michigan, and able to work remotely and be creative. I have a adopted kitten. I have a fireplace, and it's getting warm, and there's a lake outside, so I don't need anything else.
Nice. And go ahead. I know you got a question. I mean,
Yeah, I'm dying.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I have to ask. So they're in Michigan, beautiful state. And, I'm understanding you're from Detroit originally.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your exposure to the arts at the beginning and what made you turn into this rock star that you are now with the mutton chops?
My mom, like, very frankly, she
Isn't it
taught
always mom? Yes.
well, yeah. She taught me to read in the basement. Was a public school teacher at Cooley High School in Detroit, and she exposed me to everything. I mean, she's like the moms on RuPaul's Drag Race who are like the most loving, encouraging mom ever, that like sews dresses with like their drag son. That's my mom, except it was just like it was in the 70s, and her like just like whatever you want to do. You want to play baseball? Great. You want to take dance lessons? Amazing. Figure skating? Awesome. Piano lessons? Let's do it. So like she kind of threw everything at me, trying to get me to like hook on to something. I guess and I tell this story, but my most formative like artistic memory is seeing Singing in the Rain on TV when
What?
I had to be maybe 4 years old. It was no older than 4, and I remember I just like I watched it on TV, and then it was raining outside, probably PBS. It was raining outside, and I grabbed an umbrella, and I was like, "I'm going outside." My mom was like, "Sit your butt down. You're not going anywhere." And I was like, "No, mom, it's raining right now. I have to go outside and do Singing in the Rain." Um, and so ever since then, I've always wanted to like my dearest wish was to live in like a Technicolor fantasy world like that one in that movie. I was just like, well, if humans can do that, if humans can be in that wherever he is, I want to be there. But that wasn't really that was just a dream. The as a, kid growing up, I was very shy, and I I didn't sing in front of anyone, and I kind of thought early on, like around 3rd grade or so, I remember thinking about being a singer when I knew I could sing, and thinking, well, is this something you could do? I thought, you know, uh, guys don't really get, famous singing. Only girls do. Because I'm thinking like, well, there's Whitney Houston, and that's like it. It's Whitney Houston and Madonna and Michael Jackson, and I'm just not Michael Jackson, so I don't think I should, put any energy into that. But my mom kept filling my head with ideas and would take me up north camping to Interlaken. One place we'd camp all summer long on her school vacation, and we would camp across the street from the arts camp when they were having their big national camp, and I just at a time when no Hogwarts existed in our imaginations, that's what that seemed like to me. This place where all of these kids came together just to like do music and put on shows. And you know, that was big for me, getting to go to that school. And up there on a closed campus, it's like you don't have to worry about people finding out that you're gay, and you don't have to deal with a lot of the like boxes people want to put you in racially, and you know, or why aren't you on the football team? You just get to like do your ideas. And that changed everything for me and gave me the confidence to just feel like I could try anything.
That
You know,
is
you
so
and I,
beautiful.
it is. Sid, you and I have had a lot of conversations, you know, as we work and
Mhm.
offline too, about the line between black and white, and where the industry wanted to put you or not put you. And I think those conversations are very important now. And
Mhm.
I would love for all the students that listen to the podcast or are watching now to hear you talk about what your experience was like in auditions and being in shows, and that line that's crossed or not crossed.
So like just a small topic with a simple answer.
Yeah, you know, 2 seconds. Yeah.
2 seconds on race. I so my mom is French, German, and Irish, and my dad is Black and Cherokee Indian, and so I'm Puerto Rican. But
No, you didn't.
apparently, but but you know, which, you know, it gets lost sometimes in the whole like, are you black or are you white? And I'm like, well, it's not just that choice, you know, there's more. And I didn't really grow up, my mom didn't indoctrinate me, you know. It was either like a huge prank or like you know, a test. I was a test case of like, let's try and not tell him anything about like, you know, racial expectations, what you can or cannot, you know, expect to achieve. Let's tell them sky's the limit. Go out there and be completely yourself. And that worked okay until like middle school, public school. And then it was like, why are you walking like that? Why do you talk like that? You don't know how to swear. Why are your clothes so tight? There was a whole joke about where's your little brother today, or say hi to your little brother for me, for 3 years in middle school, that I didn't know what it was. And it was the kids making fun of me because they thought most of my clothes were too tight, and so I must be wearing my little brother's clothes to school.
I see.
And I mean, among other, you know, kinds of bullying, and then just like outright physical stuff. I wasn't one to like stand for much, you know, in terms of like, I wouldn't take a lot before I'd like, you know, go off or like, you know, try and defend myself. But it did make me like not want to go and like really participate at school, and like certainly school dances. I just knew I wasn't cool, and I was like, you know, very overweight. It was almost 230 pounds and 38 waist, and I had a lisp. I had a really strong lisp like this, and so you know, I was always trying to avoid saying any S words named Sydney. And and so I kind of felt like I had no tools or knowledge about why I was getting this kind of pushback. I didn't know that like people expected me. It was really, I got the pressure from, at least on you know, the thing I most like realized was that I was not black enough. I was pretending to be white. Why was I pretending to be white? Why did I cut my hair like that? And that persisted, and it was really bad in high school. And then I went to Interlochen after my first year, and it vanished. Right, that is no longer an issue now. And then, you know, college, in retrospect, you notice it now. In retrospect, you
Mm.
see why certain actors are only available for chorus parts, and the ones who get the preferred teachers and the ones who get the parts for casting are those who had connected parents and those who looked like your standard musical theater white types. Um, and in New York, I mean, I kind of felt like New York's a great equalizer. New York's a place where you can go, and if you go to the audition and you've got the best audition, you get it. And to a certain, if you believe that to a certain point, that is true. It's powerful. Like, you can knock somebody's socks off in an audition. But the amount of people who get their jobs from things that are through nepotism, from things that are through family connections and privilege is like, there's more jobs for them than there are for people who are like street rats. So I The Lion King, I started growing my hair out at one point, and I had one actress, sitting in the dressing room when I walked in, say, "Oh, now you can't pretend to be white anymore." I had an actress, it's happened through my whole career, all the way up to my last show, Girl from the North Country. I had an actress, who was playing opposite me, say, "I'm not really black. I've got maybe a drop in me." I've had white directors, kind of not think that I'm representative enough of the black community to have a point of view on what my character should think or feel that I can't really understand, because my life has been privileged this whole time. Meanwhile, if I was dark-skinned, I would have gotten so much more work in this business. There's so many parts that I go in for that say African-American male that I know, just based on type and storytelling, I'm going to be confusing for the role, maybe, especially, depending on like what other races are within it. If there's a Puerto Rican character and a black character and I'm playing the black guy, that's not great storytelling. It's just not. And I understand that, but it's a hard thing to discuss. So you kind of just have to go in and do the South African accent for, ruined, even though I'm not playing the Congolese soldier, but I got to go in for it. And so that can be embarrassing. Just to be real, if you look at, the entertainment business right now and just across the spectrum and what's representative in terms of, mixed people, if we're going to say like, black and white or light-skinned, it's, light-skinned women are very, very accepted across the board as black women, right? And they can, they don't have to speak in, code or, quote unquote urban in order to be considered as such. But when you look at like very light-skinned males in the industry, first of all, like, you've got to think hard to name 5, and beyond that, if you real hard, then that's more acceptable. But if you otherwise, you better be a comedian if you're gonna, speak any other way. Otherwise, nobody's gonna take you seriously. And if you talk like this when you walk into your audition, even though you can do 1,000 different dialects, they don't want to hear that. They don't want. So. It's a tricky thing, but the secret is that the universe protects me from any jobs I'm not supposed to get. And as I didn't become a trained actor that kind of felt like I knew what I was doing until, into my 30s. And now with the movement happening, the cultural movement that's happening in our country, all of these roles are opening up for the first time. I'm seeing parts specifically for mixed male, indiscriminately raced, or, gay guys, but not just the, slutty best friend, but something thoughtful, something real. And so I feel like I'm kind of like at the height of my powers, right at the right time for me. So, for the kids out there who are wondering, I mean, if you're like me, and that is, however you identify, if that's, LGBTQIA plus, or mixed of some persuasion, or you just feel like an outcast, this is a good time. It's a good time. There's good stories happening right now. The usual suspects, they're still doing their shows, they're still doing their all white movies, they're still doing their things that are just in the trenches of tribal America, but there are stories being told that are beyond that. We were ready. I think it's so funny. I can always play parts in the future, because in the future everything's mixed. That's how we know we're in the future. Right. So now there's all these sci-fi things, and it is going to be 2022. So hey, we finally arrived to that mixed future I was waiting for.
And go ahead. I know you got something to say here.
No, just your wonderful explanation of the conundrum of colorism was just so brilliant. And it really puts to the forefront one of the challenges of Black culture and actually being understood.
Yes.
The fact that light-skinned Black women are easily cast reflects on misogynoir.
Exactly.
So I'm glad that the waters are more navigable now than they were before this great pause.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy that you have been able to spiritually connect and reconcile with actually what's happening, so that you can maintain your mental health through all of this, and that it's carried you through a lot of this.
Yeah, well, you have to not take it personally, right? It's like you do in the beginning. It's like, what can I change about myself to make this better, so that I stop having these bad experiences where you walk into an audition and the director's like, oh God, okay, what are you doing for us today? And you're like, oh, can I just go? And I don't want to stay for this either. I feel uncomfortable. But you don't take that personally. These auditions, people ask me that. I just did a master class the other day, and they were like, how do you deal with the rejection? And it's like, these things are like buying lottery tickets. You don't kill yourself if your lottery ticket didn't win, right? You're just like, well, I didn't expect it to, really, but could happen. That's auditioning for major parts and roles. It's a lottery ticket, and so like that's how you protect yourself. But understanding yourself and being real with yourself about who you are is so important. There's a lot of people out there who don't really do that soul searching of to answer those questions, and then they're faced with problems like this, and you can't sustain that. So I try and speak to it in a real way, because it is a real problem. And like you said, that's misogynist, that that light-skinned women, because they're so desirable, are easily accepted. And one of the things slave play I thought was so interestingly that they executed interestingly was, I think the second couple was this very, very light-skinned mixed house slave with the white woman, and that's acceptable because he's her sexual object there. Right. That's how he can be cast. And so we'll see what happens. At least we're talking about it.
Yeah. When does the how long did it take for you to kind of get to the other side of that, Sid? I mean, we've been having this conversation for years and years, but you seem much more comfortable in your body and the way you talk about it now and where you are. How long? Mm-hmm.
Recently, honestly.
Yeah.
It was hard for so long.
Yeah.
Because there's so many close calls, and like so many times that you want, they have you in for the lead part, but they're really having you in for the understudy for the lead part, but you're gonna play the like featured like Latino part on the side. You're good enough to be in the ensemble and play the featured Latino and understudy the lead, but you're not good enough to be the lead because of how you look. That is a tough one to like get people to see your talent, to get people to see past your skin or think just because you're a good looking guy who's done chorus parts that you're just good looking chorus me. Yeah, he's got a nice voice. It's fine, but they can't see the substance. It takes some like monumental event for that to happen. And I guess what happened recently is that I had some, I had a lot. I'm always auditioning for things that I feel like they're not writing this part for me. And this past season was really because of, so many things immediately needing to go into production, and like they need more content. There've been so many auditions, and I have found my peace with like where I fit in racially through that, by realizing that my best auditions are the ones where I'm really being authentic. I can't be authentic if I'm worried about them thinking I'm like too white or too gay or too educated or not enough of something else. I just got to understand it as a human and try and do my acting work. If there's a slight dialect based for the character he's from, Chicago, downtown Detroit, okay, but you just do your work. And then I had some great successes, and those successes proved to me that I was right, and that there's no boogeyman in the closet, and that if I do my best work, it will get noticed, and I'll get noticed for being exactly who I authentically am, not me trying to be something else.
Love it. Let's go back a little bit to Hamilton. I know a lot of our listeners want to hear about your. You don't remember it? Is that what you said?
Blur.
Oh, let's switch right on to something else. But I
no, because I have a question. I have a question after you, Eric. After you.
I was kidding.
I want to hear about the Hamilton experience and where you were emotionally when that whole thing happened, and then everything kind of blew up in a phenomenon. And I want to hear a little bit about your experience with the show and where you are now with it.
Let's see. I had recently come back from I had recently come back from 3 or 4 years of traveling, probably about 3 years of traveling consecutively, doing regional musicals at theaters around the country. And
Dreamgirls, Signature.
Dreamgirls at Signature, and the Rocky at the Old Globe.
Right.
I did a lot of work at Dallas Theater Center, Denver Center, regional stuff, and it was great. And my agents were like, "It's time for you to come back to New York. Now you've got these credits. We need you in New York to be available." So I moved back, and I didn't. I had lost my apartment. My landlord found out I was illegally subletting, so while I was on the road, I got evicted. And I moved back. A friend of mine let me stay at his house. He was like, "Oh yeah, we've got this big house in Jersey coming." I was like, "Oh, that'll be fun. It'll be short. It'll be whatever." And it was really like the floor of his mom's attic at her house. And I lived there for about 2 years, and it was because I didn't have any money, and I didn't want to go out of New York again. And I was really, one thing I've always done in the city, and one thing I'm able to get hired for a lot, is developmental work, workshops, readings, that kind of thing. And I find that exciting because I'd rather audition for something new and play a part in something than be put into something existing that somebody already kind of did, and I'm just coming in to hit the marks and hit the notes. So I was doing that, and I was doing a beautiful piece called The Nine Fathers of Ariel, directed and produced by Graciela Danielle of Chicago, and choreographed. And I got an audition that was with the public, and I got an audition for this Hamilton mixtape thing, and they were like, this is for the part of Washington, and um I don't know what it is. It sounds crazy. It's this musical about Alexander Hamilton, except told through rap. But we'll find you something else. If it's not for like 2 months. We'll find you something else. And so I auditioned for it, and that went well. And I got it. And I was commuting every single day. I was taking 2 trains to get to the city, and rehearsing all day, and then going home at night and doing it again. We did that for 5 weeks, and it felt in the room. I knew in the rehearsal room this was different because um, usually in a rehearsal room, all you have is a piano and the music director. But this had a table, besides the music director, this had a table with like 2 technicians who were set up for beats and production, and a full like sound system, so that all the choreography rehearsal that we were doing could be done to like actual beats, which, I mean, learning stuff to piano can be so like trying because you're just learning by counts. This felt like a lot more like ahead of its time than other musical things I had done that were trying to be current. And I was, keeping myself afloat by doing weddings in New York as a wedding singer. So I kind of knew what it was supposed to sound like. We would cover like everything, top 40, and I had an auto-tune rig, and I would sing, yeah, like so many times I've sung, yeah. Oh my God. My girl? Don't get me started. So, so, it felt like, okay, this is gonna be great. This will be the best thing, whatever season it ends up getting produced. Andy's choreography is just so much fun, and it's fun to like be in the workshop stages for that and be contributing to how things go. And it was a short wait for it to get its off-Broadway production at the Public, but the Public had, been one of the producing partners for the workshop. So, they kind of had their eye already on what they wanted to do with it. And while we were off Broadway, I think is when I moved to New York. And that made my life a lot easier and made me feel like I had gotten past a certain purgatory I had been in for being an actor, like of this crazy thing. How long can you do it? How long can you like take the trains like this and like miss the last train and have to wait till the 2 a.m. train to go home after your, show on a weekend? And so it always felt like, in some ways, being in Hamilton was very exciting, but it always felt like panic because I was understudying for parts, and as well, already my ensemble track was just like killer, right? It's just like I'm doing all these features, and I think I counted like maybe 35 changes in the show throughout, and it is just like it was hard. And you're trying to see this thing through from the beginning of the workshop to the Tonys, right? That's kind of your goalpost. I've never been one to stay in a show for a long, long time. Mostly because your body starts to not be able to take it after a while and you need a break. But you always want to take it as far as it can go in terms of like, the award seasons and that kind of thing, and as far as it can take your career. And it really had its challenges. Hamilton, there was some unrest about the whole workshop contract issue and what actors are actually contributing when they give all their time in like pre-production and in developmental works, and how do they get compensated for that. And by the end of it, I got to play the role of Aaron Burr, and which from the first week of the workshop, my goal was, I want to play Aaron Burr on Broadway. I want to play that role. That is the goal. And to have that happen was just, it felt like this sense of relief after, like, trying so hard to carry a dream across the line. And a dream that has been your dream to be a leading man on Broadway for years, like decades. So
let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
you get a call. This is a big deal. You get a call. You're going on.
Okay, so this was before I had gotten, like, to take over the part. And it was like in December, I think, or maybe November. And
all the parts you were playing before were your track is
M5. I play James Reynolds. I
Right.
play Father Schuyler. I play the doctor who can't save Philip. And then I'm like a revolutionary that
Mhm.
dies and comes back to life 20 times. And a townsperson and a man in a cloak and a man in a hat and so many things. But yeah, I was just, and at that time, they weren't really saying who was going on for Aaron Burr. I had already been on for George Washington, and I was going on periodically for that. And so and I had to fight for my other understudy assignments. They only wanted me to understudy George Washington because of my height and my skin color looking like Chris Jackson. More of that thing. So I didn't think I was the understudy for Aaron Burr. There was somebody else who was an offstage, hire, who's like sits and waits, who really had been playing Aaron Burr in the rehearsals, who had rehearsed it all, who had a costume, who had the whole thing. But I've been around for a minute, and my first time on for Simba and the Lion King, I didn't have a put in. But I'd had rehearsals, but I didn't have a put in. And that was so scary to just go on for a Broadway show with no rehearsal. And so I rehearsed the lines for Aaron Burr like a mad person. When I did my laundry, when I walked down the street, when up and down the stairs, doing the dishes, cooking, at the gym, whatever. I did those words. And I did them running, I did them biking so that I had, breath control, because I knew that something was going to happen. And then one day they called me at 12:30 and said, "Hey, Sid, you're on for Aaron Burr today." And I had already had a conversation with the stage manager I don't know, a week or two before, that was like, "Hey, I'm very worried. I have not rehearsed with any other person for Aaron Burr. I feel like, it's been a while since, Leslie's never been out. So any day that's going to happen, and I'm getting terrified. So I need rehearsals." And he looked me in the eyes and said, "You're not the first cover, so you don't really have to worry about that." And I was like, okay, cool. So when they called me, they told me I was on, and I was like, I didn't argue. I didn't say, "What? No way. You didn't tell me. Put on the other guy. He's had rehearsals." I didn't say that. I said, it's part of teaching me humility. So I didn't panic. I told myself, this is happening today at 2. You have an hour and a half to set yourself up for success. So take a shower, start warming up, and get down to the theater. And that's what I did. They let out Leslie's costumes from the off-Broadway production, and I wore my own boots and shoes. And I got to practice the table jump in Room Where It Happens, where they pull the thing. That's the one thing I got to practice. I had never had a single rehearsal with any other cast member.
Right.
There was a dance captain in one wing with a computer and the dance captain in the other wing with a computer. And I would come off stage and say, "What's my next entrance and what wing do I exit out of?" And they would tell me that, and then I would go on. And I was like, I know the words, I can make up. I've seen enough of the show that I know the general path. As long as I know which way to, because there's a maze of entrances and exits. I'll be able to do this. So that really was like.
And just to be clear, that's all you had. You
I had no
walked through
notes.
Burr's track once. Before
Yes.
Showtime, you were able to run through the rumor it happens, including the infamous tablecloth pull. Other than that, I hope you know what you're on. That's it.
That's it.
Get on.
And so I'm walking into the theater, and there's somebody in front of me, and on their phone, a person in the show, and they're like, yeah, no, I just heard, it's gonna be a mess. He's never even had a rehearsal. I'm about to get my popcorn and like walking into the door, and then like I'm behind, so I hold the door, and then they turn around and see me and look, and they're like, oh hey, I'm so excited for you. Yeah. I was like, thanks. Oh my God, me too. So I did it.
Yes, you did.
I did it. I didn't miss any words. There was no silences. It was not my best performance, but they cheered after Room Where It Happens, and they didn't have that thing that happens to an audience when an understudy goes on and they fail, which is they feel like they've been cheated. They felt like they had seen something exciting. They knew that Leslie had never been out before. So they, as an understudy, you can get them on your side. And then I walked off stage and I burst into tears and cried for a long time. Renee held me. And so did my friend Betsy in the ensemble. The only people who I actually felt had my back and wanted me to succeed, just being honest here. And it just seemed like why me? It just felt like, why do I have to go through this all the time? But the win of it is that when you do that and you slay, now what are you gonna say? So that first time, I'll never forget it. It's the scariest thing I've ever done in entertainment, certainly, and has made me feel like I'm invincible in terms of bad things that can happen during a live show. Like, I'm not going to feel like it really helped me let go of, a chronic kind of stage fright I had, because I was just like, if I can do that, man, I can go out there and do anything with focus and preparation and mental, sharpness. So yeah, that first time was defining for me, and I'll never forget it.
Did you have people that came that
That
were you
show?
able to get
No.
people? No, you didn't have enough time.
Even with time, there were times when my mom, I'm on for George Washington, and my mom is in town, and it's like, hey, can I get? No, there are no tickets. No, you can't. No, you can't. I mean, like, getting tickets is something that you have to trade children for. Even in the ensemble, it's like, no, you can't. Robert De Niro is bringing 7 people tonight.
I sold a kidney, which was good. I got to see you, so I sold
on
a kidney.
Craigslist.
And it was well worth it. Go ahead, Anne. I'm sorry.
No, that's a messy surgery.
I did it myself. It was home, a home kit.
I wanted to talk with you a little bit about your subversive inclusion tactics for gay people in the Revolutionary War. Can you tell me about your characters that you played and how you kind of infused them with the gay?
Yes, ma'am. That was my next question.
Well, in thinking about this, okay, so for instance, for the lead characters, Alexander Hamilton is rumored to be, have had homosexual relationships with both Marquis de Lafayette and John Lawrence. But Aaron Burr is widely considered a ladies' man. George Washington, they say that there, was some sort of, maybe more than fatherly affection between him and Alexander, but he's really like him and Martha. They were doing their thing. I don't look for homosexuality where it doesn't really exist, or where it doesn't serve the story, right? I don't have an agenda with a character.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do my take on it, and this time he's gay. Um,
Wow.
it's gonna be so illuminative. But when I was like reading all the histories and learning about the times, I just kept thinking about what a time that must have been for gay people. I know they existed, but like, did it feel more dangerous because it was so sort of lawless in a way? Was it as homophobic at a time as it is now? With like white nationalism and, so entrenched, it wasn't such a big deal back then because everybody really was white except for the slaves, and they don't count. So I just kind of got an idea to, in as many places as I could in the show, when I was a townsperson or when I was, a soldier or whatever it was, to like be gay. And so in Schuyler Sisters, I'm this uptown gentleman. But I have this cape and I have this huge tricorn, and I was like, can I please have a cane? May I also have a handkerchief? And can I have a snuff box? And that's what I needed. And so, I do a little snuff. I would like mop my brow a bit. I would just do the things that I feel like, as an uptown citizen who's a little haughty and really sympathetic to the British, that's how I would have been. When I'm in Guns and Ships, which is, Lafayette, I'm taking these horse by the reins, making red coats red with blood stains. So when that moment first happened, Anthony, Blankenbuehler, Andy, he choreographs things to the like quarter count, right? It's like arm, wrist, elbow, like do all this thing to get to the next move. And you're like, okay, can you just run me by that one more time? At that Lafayette part, when we were workshopping it, he was like, all right, and for here, everybody improv, everybody freestyle. So in the workshop, I, kind of brought the table in and like was in this huddle and had the middle spot for that freestyle, which I loved. I got very few moments where I felt like I was like, kind of down front. And so like I was doing my thing. When we choreographed it for Off-Broadway, I had an audition that day. And when I got back to, and we were basically working off what we had done in the workshop. When I got to the rehearsal room, and we got to that part, and the dance captain was showing me my thing, that she was like, okay, so we bust out and we say Lafayette and everybody freestyles, and you are going to make your way around to stage right and then up stage, and then you're going to cross all the way across the back of the stage, and then you're going to go up those stairs, and then you're going to go up around the top, and you're going to end up at the center of like the balcony level. And I was like, y'all took away my freestyle right there. So I was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to still freestyle and make that path? Right? I'm just kind of I guess I just have to duck walk and vogue it the hell down. So I worked out what I wanted to do. I got my moves together.
Yeah.
And, when we ran it the next time, they were like, Lafayette, to the floor, full laid out. And then get up and do a double turn, lay out, and then duck walk all the way up stage across the back, turn, jump split. And so we run it, and then Andy afterwards was giving notes, and he was like, so Sydney, we're voguing now in revolutionary America. And I was like, well, it is Lafayette and Paris is burning. So you tell me, are we not? And and I got such a good response that I got to keep it. And so I vogued 8 shows a week to the floor, laid out like right next to the table center stage. You can see it. It's in the movie. And
Yes, it is.
you see me kind of go by. And just in case you didn't, I posted a full body shot on my Insta. So
Yes, it's there too.
Noted.
But it's there, and I kind of, it's such a like masculine. There's a lot of like, machismo going on in that show. There's a lot of like that, and which is cool, which is fine. It's part of the vibe. But I kind of wondered, does anybody even see this? Who's looking at me when David is jumping off the table, rapping rapid fire? Only, Mariska Hargitay on her 14th time. That's the only person. So I was in the lobby one day, and an usher came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, Sydney, can I talk to you for a second?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, so the other ushers told me that like every single show you be voguing down to the floor, and I didn't believe them. So I came out from the concession stand and I watched during Guns and Ships. And can I just tell you, thank you so much for putting that in this show and doing that every night. I feel seen. It's the best part of the show for me. And I just want to tell you, like, you are legendary. And that was the reason to keep doing it every show. Maybe one other person, maybe 3 other people are gonna see it. But if you can make the one person feel like they saw themselves up there, you're making future dreams happen, because now they believe that it's real. So that is kind of how I brought the gay to Hamilton.
And I love it. I
love
love
to
it.
see it. I love
I'm an
to see
OG
it.
Hamilton gay. I was the first Hamilton gay because Jonathan Groff was not in the workshop and the beginning of the off-Broadway. And the only other and then we didn't get another gay cast member until gay male cast member until Javier started understudying Lynn in the off-Broadway. So it was a lonely place.
Speaking of
entertained myself.
gay, Sid, you and I have talked about this, and I'm going to quote something that you said. It's tough to be openly gay in theater and in entertainment. It can limit you and the opportunities you do, the perception of you and your skills. It's also tough to be the only one of somebody in any sort of experience. You feel representative of all gay people in a way. At the same time, it's also wonderful because I thrive on my differences, and I think we should all thrive on our differences. And then it got me thinking about a conversation that we had about predators within the industry. And that's been coming up a lot lately. And Anne works a lot with that, being an intimacy choreographer. And I know for a fact that you have predatory things with gay directors and choreographers, and people asking you to do things in the power of the casting couch. And I would love for you to talk about that, especially to the young people that are listening. And you have such a wonderful point of view about that, and about being gay in the industry, and about those predators.
Well, like we spoke earlier in this, where light-skinned women are considered like a misogynistic fantasy for a majority of like men across the board. Light-skinned gay guys are a bit of a fetish for the same demographic, except in people who are gay in positions of power. You don't, and so I faced a lot of that, where it was like, they know that I'm not a college graduate. They know that I, came here from Detroit and don't have like a powerful family. I don't have any connections or anything like that. So they sort of see you as something that they have a right to. It's like a professional, it's a perk of the profession that you get to sleep with the chorus boys that you choose, and you can do them little favors if you want. And from one of my first experiences in theater, almost every single one, it was always present. Honestly, it just always has been, whether or not they decided to make a move about it. Like if it's not the choreographer, then it might be the director, or it's another castmate, and that might be a male or a female. Or it might be the lead producer, or um, I had so many opportunities where like a high-powered director would say, "So why don't you just come back to my place after like leaving a cast party, or something like that? We can grab one more drink." And I'm like, "Oh, well, no, we've got rehearsal in the morning, so I'm gonna go." And they're like, "Oh, you sure? It's just down the street." And I'm like, yeah, we're starting with opening act 2 tomorrow, and I gotta be in good voice. And it's just and he's like, "Are you sure?" And I knew what he was saying then, but I was neither attracted, because if I had been attracted, I'd be a star. But I wasn't. And I wasn't attracted, and I had a firm belief that if I slept with somebody in order to get ahead professionally, I would never believe that I had talent. I would never believe in myself. I would always believe that it's because of my looks or my sex, and that that would be my downfall. And so I wouldn't. And I'll tell you, the next day I came into rehearsal after, saying, good night. And I opened act 2 with a solo in this little show called The Sweet Smell of Success. And I got to rehearsal that day, and they were like, "All right, well, there's been a change. We're not, the opening of act 2 has been rewritten, and now we're going to open with so-and-so, and it's not Sydney. So you can sit down." And I was like,
wow.
Okay, this is the direct, this is them showing me what happens when you do say no.
When you say no.
They
And you
slapped your wrist.
and there's nothing I can do about that. It was just the two of us. I can't tell. They're not going to believe me. Who am I going to tell? The stage manager? You mean the equity stage manager that is in the producer's pocket, that works for the producer and is trying his best to get like a position in the producer's company that overseeing, multiple tours? The stage managers are unfortunately not HR people. They aren't making your best decisions. They're making the shows and their own. And so because of that, because of his sort of now new POV on me, it was like all of the production teams. Oh, he's a problem, right? He's difficult. So
that started rumors.
It just starts a sort of, it starts a sort of cloud that can follow you. And part of the reason why it follows you is because you keep not sleeping with people.
Right. I was gonna
You kept saying no.
You keep saying no. And and I've had like major people doing it or trying to give me away. I can't even tell you who they're trying to give me away to, because he's too kind of powerful with a big mic, and I'm not drawing their attention right now. And that is part of the problem, because I don't feel safe to say anything until I feel like I have more like under my belt of things that I want, because I don't professionally, because I just don't want to be associated with anything else besides my goddamn talent. Not drama, not like how I am in bed, none of that. What's the work like? Did I give you an emotional epiphany? Yay. If I do that during sex, great, but you got to come see it in a theater. So it's so real. It just it I don't know when we'll stop having to deal with that as young gay men. Um Especially for those of you who people find attractive for one reason or another. It's like, it's like, oh yeah, poor you're attractive. But it's this thing where everybody approaches you as a sexual object. Everybody approaches you with like, oh my gosh, you are so sexy right now. Even if it's a woman and she knows you're gay, it's still just turning you into this sex thing. And it takes a while. It took me getting much older, at least, for that to stop being as okay. It started to, where I felt like I can say like, that's inappropriate. Versus being a young chorus boy. You don't really have, you can't say much, and nobody cares. From what I heard, there was, during the whole, when the Me Too thing was really rolling, a whole expose going to happen about the gay side of this, because apparently it doesn't exist. It's only to Anthony Rapp. But it got squashed by powerful people. And so it's never been brought up, but it will. Don't let me get famous.
Oh,
I'm just saying, all y'all out there who are worried about it, you should be.
better worry.
She got stories.
We are running out of time. I want to talk about the Countrywife a little bit. I know there's not a lot you can talk about it, but Richard Maltby, David Shire's new show, The Countrywife, which you are involved with. Tell us a little bit about it. Give us a little teaser about it. They went right to you for it, which is so exciting. When you told me before on the phone, there's nothing more exciting for me and fills my heart than when students and people that you work with and love so much when things start rolling and things start really working for them. And I'm so proud.
Isn't it
so proud
that I'm like emailing and having like personal relationships with the people who wrote shows that we love. And
isn't it about time is what I say.
That
but
we're just sitting there in that rehearsal room dreaming about, gosh, you just gotta like get in front of the right person. And then, somebody sees you for who you are. I have to say, for, Mr. Richard Maltby is he's just such an incredible person. He had a misconception about me early in the rehearsal process, and I don't know if it's because of something that he heard or just something that a way he caught my face, or something at a random time. I idolize him, and Ain't Misbehavin' is just, to me, one of the best things ever put on a stage. I've never stopped listening to that. And so to be misunderstood by him, felt really was sort of like devastating. And I was like, no, God, not again. How is this happening? And then I just worked as hard as I could. And at the end of it, he came to me and he was like, I have to tell you, I really got you wrong. And watching you over, this rehearsal period has just been so incredible as an artist to see somebody take the work that I wrote so seriously. So I got to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I knew that he had seen me, like he saw me, and that I was like shielded against any like bad things that could happen there. And that he was like, now he was on my side. And so when the pandemic hit, we had done this a little while back, maybe in 2018. He reached out because Lily Cooper and I had sung a really beautiful song from the show called The First Time. And he had asked us if we'd make a recording of it because they were going to do like a presentation and they wanted to have a couple songs recorded. And so I got to sing with Lily Cooper, of course, and we did make that recording. And I just found out that It's got a producer and a director and the production in the works, and we're doing a reading of it in May. And thanks. And it just it's like it's such a sometimes artists get discouraged because they feel like, you know, things aren't coming or they're not booking this or that, but it's really also about the relationships you make. And you are like, I didn't know doing the reading of that I was setting a gift up for myself years down the road, as long as I do my best work. And so, you know, as long as you're working hard and continuing to put yourself forward out there and do good things, it's like you can't lose. Good work will always be noticed and rewarded in some way, maybe that you can't see, but it's coming. And so it's this show, The Countrywife, that is based on a play from, I think, I know it's from the Restoration period by William Wycherley, I think, because I think he rhymes it with Bitcherly.
It is Wycherley, correct.
Yeah, it's all in rhyming couplets, the whole play, which is a new thing. It's new. Can you imagine? No, I mean it's new for this piece. And boy, oh boy, does it work. And I just reading it, I'm laughing out loud. And it's now set in the same time period, except in Louisiana, and all of the characters are citizens of New Orleans. So it's all BIPOC, and it's a play within a play. It is scathing. It's like one of those ones where you go, oh, no, they did not. Yes. So race, sexuality, sex. It's this. They're doing it. Maltby and Shire have done it again, folks. So so I'm really excited about that. And also, if I'm talking too much, you can cut like
no. This is why you're here, my angel, my friend. No. You know, the other thing you did during the pandemic, you introduced me to my new friend, Andrew, who is Nina West, and you guys did a performance of A Safe Place to Land, Sarah Bareilles', and you guys sang the shit out of that song. If you haven't seen it, go onto YouTube and look up Nina West and Sidney James Harcourt and listen to these two geniuses interpret this Sarah Bareilles song. It blew me away in a time exactly when I needed it. So I thank you, Nina, and I thank you for Sidney is a selfless man when it comes to spreading the love of other people around. And, you know, now I have my own relationship with Andrew and Nina, and because of you. And unfortunately, we are at 8:08. But I want to ask one final question, Sid. What is your hope for the theater when we come out of this?
I hope new voices and new faces and new stories get told versus the repackaging of the same things that we've seen over and over again. For so long, Broadway has been stories about, you know, Black shows, Jewish shows, white shows about white and Black reconciliation, where Black people teach white people soul. And that's kind of, you know, and then like there are some fantasy pieces, but otherwise it's really, it always kind of falls into that. And everybody else is just sort of like, where am I in this? And I hope it's really hard for new writers to get in, off Broadway or on. It's a closed circle. It's hard to find a theater. It's hard to, you know, get through all of the red tape. So I hope that this theater community puts their money where their mouth is and tries to make a representative change in not only what we get to see on Broadway, but, and most importantly, how actors are valued. And if they don't put like royalties in the contract for actors on stages, I feel like we should rise up and say, we're not doing this anymore. We are not slave labor for these shows. And as soon as we break down, we're done. So that's my hope.
Mine too. That is our show, unfortunately. Sydney James Harcourt, you are a dear, dear friend. You are my family. You are my heart. Thank you for being so honest and vulnerable and sharing your story and your journey with our audience and my new friend, Anne. And thank you, Anne, for hosting again with me tonight. It's an emotional night for me because it's like you watch a family member grow up and come full circle. I'm so proud of you.
I'll do this anytime. And you are fabulous and fierce. I love talking to both of you. And let's do it again.
Yes. Next Monday, May 3rd, Joy D. Michelle and I will interview the unparalleled Charlene Woodard, recently seen in MTC's Curtain Call series, a presentation of Neat. We will talk about her extensive career in the theater with her debut in Ain't Misbehavin', which we just talked about, to Primary Stages production of The Night Watcher. The following week, John Andrew and I will have the rare privilege to speak with Tony Award-winning playwright David Henry Huang. I know our audience is very familiar with his many plays, but he is also head of playwriting at Columbia University and co-chair of the American Theater Wing. We will talk about his playwriting, teaching, and views of the future of the theater in New York theater on Monday, May 10th. We hope you enjoyed our show. If you did, please take a moment and press the like button and subscribe. For news about upcoming guests, check out our website, liveatthelortel.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. We will see you next Monday at 7 o'clock. Stay healthy, wear your masks, get the vaccine. Thank you for joining us. You are an angel from heaven. Both of you are. And I'm a better person for knowing you, Sydney, and now you, Anne. So thank you so much. Thank you to our audience. Thank you guys so much. Sid, let's get ready to work.
Yes. I'll
Bye,
see you there.
Sid.
Bye.
Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Good night. Be safe.